When I'm teaching a novel or when I'm teaching a text, I like for it to be like a whole experience, Hi, teacher friends. Welcome to Sutton Teaches Secondary. I'm Miss Sutton, but you can call me MarQuitta. And here we talk about teaching strategies for those high need schools. We plan for our ELA classrooms, and we just talk about teacher life. I am excited because I got another one. I am teaching fences for the very first time. So I thought it would just be cool to come on and really share my thought process for when I'm planning a unit, especially a novel unit, because those are a little different than a text set, and just kind of think through some things and share what I found. I found this very cool resource. I know you are going to love it, so stick around for that. So let's jump into it. So as I mentioned, I am teaching fences for the first time. And not only am I teaching this for the first time, but we are all virtual. I don't know about you, but we are still very much in distance learning. Not only am I figuring out how I want to roll out this unit, but I'm also figuring out how I'm going to do this in an online setting. Because, I just like for when I'm teaching a novel or when I'm teaching a text, I like for it to be like a whole experience. I want students to enjoy it. I want them to feel good about what we read. The things that I'm talking about today can work for you if you teach another grade. Definitely can work for a variety of grades. You just adapt and adjust as needed. One of the things also that I decided to do for this unit, now we've been reading novels and text sets all year. However, for fences, I decided that I am going to rely heavily on the film just because it's a great film. I think it pairs really well with the text. So I'll be kind of dovetailing between using the film a good amount of time, but then also us reading the important scenes from the actual play itself. Normally, when we're doing a play, I would love to do it reader's theater style, right? Where everybody takes a character. It works that way. It's fun. It helps them to really understand the development of the characters. But just however, online, everybody trying to read at once and trying to wait for people to read their part. Sure, we ain't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Okay. So for me, one of the ways I always like to get started with preparing to teach a novel is to either read it myself, or in this case, I watched it. Now, the reason why I like to do that is because for me, it really helps drive the questions that I'm going to use when we're stopping to talk and analyze and break down a text. So these are my notes. Ooh, yes, you like all of my copious notes. But yes, as I sat down and watched this together, I wrote down all of these things. Normally this would be in my novel, right? Normally this would be all of the stuff in my novel, and I like to organize it with just kind of how my thoughts run. I was really able to pick up on some of the symbols in the text, and even though we're not really hitting on these, we'll definitely touch on these. And it helped me to be able to watch it because I was able to pick out kind of how I'm going to break this up. We're moving through this unit pretty quickly. It's going to be about a 2 to 3 week unit, and so I'm breaking up the text into 4 sections. Normally, if we were reading the actual play, I would take it by act and scene, but because we're not doing that, I broke it up into 4 chunks, and then I really outlined the importance. I don't know if you can see it, but I really outlined the important monologues or kind of dialogue sections that I really want to hit on. I know for the first section, the part 1, we're going to hit on the section of the son saying, Corey saying why don't you like me? That whole dialogue and interchange between Corey and Troy, all of that stuff. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. And of course we have to do the famous snot scene. That's what me and my husband call it. We call it the snot scene with Viola Davis and I've been sitting in the same spot with you, right? So I was able to kind of write down some of those points. Now, I think these 4 chunks are pretty good, and I'm going to kind of follow the process of us reading a piece, reading the dialogue or the monologue together from that chunk, analyzing it together, and then we'll watch. And then after that, we'll discuss. One of the things I was thinking about having students do as they were watching is creating a graphic organizer where students can keep their notes about the conflicts the characters are experiencing, anything significant that happens to the characters, and then just like general notes about ideas or things that stand out to them. I don't know how specific I want to make it, but I do know for sure, because we're so late in the year, I don't want to make it too specific with like actual questions of like what happened here, like questions that guide them too much. I've built a lot of that foundation already in the first part of the year, and so I really want them to have a chance to just absorb and like what jumps out at them, and then use that, give them a lot of time to absorb, and then build time into our class to just discuss and let them kind of build off of each other with discussion. I really plan on eliminating myself from a lot of the discussion and letting them discuss. There's lots of pieces and nuances that I'm really hoping they'll be able to pick up on because they're actually watching it. So I'm excited to see what happens, and I want to really push them to be the leaders of this discussion. And I think this is the great piece of text to be that turning point, like I said, because we're doing so much watching. We shall see. Or this unit kind of falls in our third quarter. And in the third quarter of my overarching theme is this idea of like friendship, families, relationships, those kind of things, like relationships. And so when I was trying to come up with an essential question, I think I am going to land on this essential question of what responsibilities do we have as members of our family. And I like leaving it as just members of the family because I don't want to make it too specific to like father, mother, that kind of thing, because I want them to be able to enter from their viewpoint. And I think this is really cool as seniors, and also just because we're in a pandemic, you know, I have students who are working right now, or students who, because they're the only one home, they're online with school while they're also taking care of their brother and sister and helping them online. So, you know, I think that they can really enter the conversation from their point of view and talking about like, as a family member, what responsibility do we have as family? Also just like, it'll be a great way to access like culturally, what is expected of you and your family and within your culture, right? All kinds of very rich discussion, which will then lead us in a nice way to being able to discuss what Troy's family looks like, and what does it mean for them and their culture, and what responsibility looks like. Oh, these are the things that make me excited. I'm sure they make you excited too, right? Like, these are the things as English teachers were like, ooh, discussion, yes. And they actually get the kids hyped too, which is what I love, love, love. Now, mind you, all of the things that I've talked about so far are not things that just came out of my brain. Like, I didn't just decide like, yes, this would be a great essential question, and this is how I want to break it up. I actually found this very cool resource online. I'm always finding really cool resources, especially when I'm teaching something new. And PBS, you know, we love us some PBS. They have a trailer for Fences that includes some of the James Earl Jones play, but then also includes other literary scholars giving commentary about the play. And so I'm going to use that as a part of our building background for this play. In addition, though, they've attached a instructional guide created by one of the theater companies that originally performed the play, which is phenomenal, y'all. You have to check this resource out. And I love it when theaters create instructional guides for plays, or sometimes the foundation that published the novel will create an instructional guide for the novel. Those are the best. Why? Because they're curated by literary scholars, like people who have PhDs in studying artists like August Wilson and things like that. People who have PhDs in theater tech and like character development and all of these like really, really rich things that we want students to pull out, but they specialize in this. And so then they create these wonderful lessons and experiences for teachers to just like, it's prepared for you, and you just like, bloop, make it happen. So beautiful. Please, please, please check it out. I will definitely make sure to put the information in the description below. And they had this really cool activity that I cannot wait to do when we're back in the classroom, where students were taking, they were reading poetry that connect to the play. So how we would normally build out a text set as teachers, they had to find words, all kinds of things, and then create these like posters based on the words from the poetry, and then also based on what they understood of the characters, and then do this cool gallery walk, and then based on that, like what do they then understand now about the characters. Oh, so cool. I'm adapting something very similar to that to do online with my students. In the last section of the play, when Troy dies, spoiler alert, Troy dies. I hope you've seen this before. I hope you've seen the play before. When Troy dies, there's these little mini monologues from his children. And so for the last scene, we're going to look, I'm going to have students or groups of students individually take those monologues and do kind of the same process with those little individual monologues. I'm so excited. And I wish I could say like, I thought of this on my own, but I didn't. I found it and then I adapted it. But that's what we do, right? We find things, we adapt them, and then we tell each other because we're teacher friends and we want each other to grow. And I want you to have a great fences lesson just like I'm gonna have one. Anyway, speaking of teacher friends, why have you not subscribed yet? I know you watching me. It was good information and you loved it, hopefully, and you found it useful. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, I want you to know that you are amazing. Have a great one, and I will see you next time. Bye.